So now go. Go on. Walk out the door. Because you don't live here anymore. Did you think I was going to crumble? Did you think I was going to fall down and die? Oh, no, not I. I will survive. Do I have any survivors? Do I have any survivors in the house tonight? So I'll go. It looks dark where you are right now. You got to know God will take care of you. Here they were in darkness and they were scared. Here they were thinking they were going to get to the land flowing with milk and honey. And God is speaking to them now about some requirements. And they're saying, I wanted the light. I wanted the promised land. I didn't want you to give me no list of commands. This wasn't what Israel was looking for, and it definitely wasn't what some of you all were listening for. Because, see, you got tricked when they told you all you had to do was speak it and believe it. You know. You just thought that that's all you had to do. You thought when you turned around 7 times that when you went out in the parking lot, the car was going to be there. See, it don't work like that, baby. All of God's promises are true. And I believe every single one of them. I do, but you got to live something. You can't live a hellish life and think you're going to get heaven's glory. You can't live any kind of way you want to and think God's going to bless you. I don't care how many times you run around the church. You can't live any kind of way and think God's going to open up the door and pour you out blessings that you don't have room enough to receive. Not while you live in hellish. You can't live in sin and think God won't cause you to win in everything. All I do is win, win, win. You lying. A lot of folks can say, all I do is sin, sin, sin. And think you're going to win? It don't work like that. You can't sin and win at the same time. And then they say, no, come on, God, now. All I want is the light. I want the land flowing with milk and honey. I don't want all these commandments. Nobody asked you to give me no list of commandments. All of these, don't do this and don't do that. You can't have your milk and cookies and all of that too. You can't, it don't work that way. It don't work that way. I don't care what anybody thinks, it don't work that way. You can't do that. Y'all know the song, Trying to Love Two. It ain't easy to do. You can't do that. You can't. That's a lie. It's hard. It ain't easy. It may look like it's easy. The movies may make it seem like it's easy, but you gonna crack up. What they say, this jumping in and out of bed keeps messing with my head, trying to love too. You can't. So you can't love Egypt and want to get to the promised land. Either you want Egypt or you want the land flowing with milk and honey. and honey. And so if you're in Egypt, the two not going to work. And here they are in the dark. And nobody wanted these commandments. And they wanted to know where the permanent water supply was. God, I'm asking you for all this. All I want you to tell me is where I can get this water. That's all I want. I want all this stuff that I heard everybody else got. That's what I want. I want to see. I decided I was going to give you my hand and give you my heart because I done heard everybody talk about how good you are. And I'm tired of struggling. And I'm tired of my efficiency. And so I want my house. You giving everybody else their houses. You giving everybody else cars and land. I want the cars. I want the land. I want the money. They wanted to know how God was going to light the way from Egypt all the way to the promised land. And that's what some of you all want. You want God to light the way all the way out of your place of where you used to be all the way into the promised land. But baby, you're going to have to go through some darkness. Ask somebody that has all of that stuff. They'll tell you it was not easy. There were some dark times in my life. I went through some dark periods in my life. You wanted God to open the way out of Egypt to Canaan so you could get there by yourself. And you jumped out of the bed. It was dark. And so you start wondering why God just didn't give you all the food you needed for your trip from Egypt to Canaan, as well as all that you wanted to drink. And you started to wondering why you were in the dark. You acted like you didn't even know where God was at all. Where are you, God? I left the comfort of where I was. Although it was uncomfortable, I'd gotten used to it. I knew how to deal with all of the demons where I was. I knew I got comfortable living that way. I knew I wasn't going to have the same place to stay every night, but I was comfortable in my discomfort. I understood that. You even acted like God was supposed to be there, leading you by the hand every step of the way. And Moses encourages Israel not to be fearful. Don't be scared of the God who brought you here. All Moses was trying to tell them, there is much to be scared about in the dark. But don't be scared of the God who brought you here. Be fearful of sinning against God, but don't be afraid of God himself. God didn't take away the darkness. God didn't totally take away the monsters out of their future. God didn't give them the water supply that would always be there. God didn't diversify their dining menu. He didn't change anything. But God revealed himself to them in the middle of their darkness. God gave Israel principles of how to live in the light and live in the darkness as well. And he told them, if you learn to live with these commandments, there is a promised future for you. And I might as well go ahead and let you know that while you are in the darkness of not being in your promised land, God will give you some principles to live by that tells us that if we can find God's principles in this dark place, although it in his glorious light. It was a struggle for them to understand this. It was a struggle for them to understand that they had to fight to get to the promise that God wanted them to have. But it is here in the journey to God's promise that God gives us how to live today and how to live in our future. Somebody said once, you can't control God. God is in complete control. And I know many of us are saying, I wish that I could just have God get rid of some of these monsters that I'm dealing with and cut on the light. But God doesn't do that. God simply gives you principles in his word to live by as you go to your future promise. God is preparing all of us for our promised future. But you've got to learn to live by the principles God has given us in order to get to the promise. God not only was preparing them for the eventual promise, but God was better preparing them of how to reach that promise. And I don't know why you have to go through darkness. And I don't know why sometimes we even have to deal with monsters. But you have to see it God's way. That if I lead you through darkness, I'm going to be there with you. See, God teaches us how to live from the vantage point that we have in darkness. God doesn't will the darkness, but God uses the darkness. See, it is not God's will that we have to go through hard times. But if you find yourself going through hard times, God will use it for your good. The monsters are not the only ones that use darkness for mischief. God uses the darkness for your good. Sometimes we can only see when the lights are cut off. Sometimes you see better when you're in this dark place than you ever saw when all the lights were on. I may be in a place where I don't know where I'm going to get my next meal, but I sure feel better being where I am right now than I did when I had everything I wanted and didn't know if I was going to live another day or if I was going to die tomorrow because of all the stuff that I was involved in, all the things I was tied to. I may be struggling right now, but I'm happier in my struggle. I see better now in this place than I ever saw when I was back over there. In this dark place, I see what I couldn't see before. I see who my real friends are. Because folks who told me they were going to be with me when I was over there, I hadn't heard from them since I've been in this dark place. The phone ain't rang since I've been in this place. I found out who really loves me. I realized I was dealing with a whole lot of counterfeit love. I had friends with benefits over there. But right here, I see my real friend. I can see better than I've ever seen in my life since I've been going through this dark period of my life.